Hey artists, Miss Stewart here with a quick tip for making your Zentangle more interesting and engaging for the viewer. So we want the person viewing your artwork to be interested in it and hang around and look at it for a little while. So I want you to first look at these two images, the fox on the left versus the fox on the right. I think that we would all agree that the one on the right is more engaging and interesting. We would want to look at this image for longer and enjoy it longer than the one on the left. So let's kind of dissect it and figure out what makes it better. The fox on the right has done a lovely job of using form and contrast. So the body of the fox has some three-dimensionality to it. You can sort of envision the muscles and the form of the legs, as well as the head and the nose and the tail. And there's contrast between the fox and its background. There's a background that is engaging and interesting, but simple enough and different enough from the fox that it doesn't compete with it. So let's look at a couple other slides and then we'll come back to this one. Here's an example of an interesting background, but not enough contrast. So the animal, the fox in this image on the right, is getting lost in the background. Here's some examples of elephants where I think there's an increasing quality in the form as you go to the right. So all of these are fine examples of an elephant Zentangle, but the one on the right does a particularly exceptional job of showing the form. And they did this through line direction as well as value. So notice that on the right, when you look around the area between the face and the ears, that there's some contrast of value. It's a little darker, like it's shaded, and that helps the face pop forward. They've also done a good job of making the lines curve appropriately around the ears and the legs and the snout, nose. Not sure what you call that. I'm having a forgetful moment there with the anatomy of elephants, but I think you get what I'm talking about. The sky on the left is more flat, and the pieces and parts of the elephant are all blending together. As if you look all the way to the right, it has more form or three-dimensionality as well as separation between the body parts. So let's go back up to this example here and talk a little bit more about what's great about this fox on the right. So the fox on the right is, we said he has good form, and there's also contrast that helps him separate from the background. So where is the contrast? What is the differences that we see between the fox and the background? So for one, the fox is done with a warm red, and all of the background colors are in the cool range. So we have blues, greens, and that sets that background back, whereas the warm red pops forward. There's also a contrast between tightly woven Zentangles and loosely woven Zentangles. So inside of the fox, this artist made the patterns close together and tight, whereas in the background, it's a very loose, more negative space between the patterns. There's also some contrast within the parts of the background. So even though I would say they are both loosely woven Zentangles in the background, the sky has this more flowy circular motion, whereas the grass has a zigzag motion. And that helps those two separate while still keeping them set back behind the fox. So that's it for my quick tip. Make sure you think about how you are using both form and contrast inside of your Zentangle to make it more interesting and engaging for your viewer.